Most men assume healthy means not dying yet. They lift a few times a week, skip breakfast, take a multivitamin from Costco, and think their yearly physical has them covered. But here's the problem. By the time your blood work shows something obviously wrong, you're already years behind. The difference between feeling fine and feeling unstoppable lives in 7 numbers, 7 biomarkers that quietly predict how long you'll feel young, sharp, and energetic. And these are the exact ones I look at with every client who comes through my executive program. And fair warning, a lot of what you've been told to track is outdated, lazy medicine. So number 1, we have ApoB. If your doctor still only orders total cholesterol, God bless him, it is like judging your finances by checking how many bills are in your wallet. It tells you nothing about what's actually circulating. ApoB measures the number of lipoprotein particles, tiny shuttles that carry cholesterol and fat through your bloodstream. Each one is like a car on a highway. The more cars you have, the higher the odds one crashes into a blood vessel wall. I've seen guys with perfect LDL, you're fine bro, but ApoB levels through the roof. One of my clients was in his low 30s, trained 5 days a week for years, had veins on his abs. ApoB was 118. That's early plaque formation territory. We optimized his nutrition, improved sleep, and got it down to 73 within months. That number probably saved him from a heart attack at 45. The ideal range is going to be under 80, above 100, and your arteries are basically on borrowed time. Number 2 is fasting glucose and HbA1c. Most people think insulin resistance is something that happens to their parents. Wrong. It is happening in your 30s while you're crushing it at work and sleeping 5 hours. Fasting glucose tells you how your body handles sugar this week. A1C tells you how it's been doing for the last 3 months. If your fasting glucose is above 95 or your A1C creeps past 5.5, your metabolism's already drifting. I had a client who bragged about being fat adapted. He was pretty lean, shredded, eating keto-ish, but his fasting glucose was 1 of 4. A1C 5.8. He was basically living in a low-grade stress response 24/7, burning cortisol instead of carbs. Optimal is going to be fasting glucose of 80 to 90 and A1C under 5.3. Below that, you're basically bulletproof. And remember, your blood sugar isn't just about food. It's about sleep, muscle, and stress. Pull 2 all-nighters and I promise you your glucose looks like you just spent a week in a donut shop. Number 3 is testosterone. Every fitness podcast is screaming about testosterone, but 90% of what people measure and supplement for is wrong. Testosterone alone doesn't tell the whole story. You need free testosterone and SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin. Think of total T as your salary. Free T is what you keep after taxes, and SHBG is the IRS. A lot of guys walk around with normal total T, say 650, but sky-high SHBG, which binds it all up, resulting in fatigue, low motivation, slower recovery. And they wonder why TRT didn't work. So here's an example from my clients. The guy was 37, father of 2, CEO energy all day, until 3 p.m. when he'd crash. Total T was in the 700s, SHBG 78, free T basically non-existent. We cut caffeine, improved carbs around training, and got SHBG to 35 in 6 weeks. His free T doubled without touching testosterone therapy. So optimal values of total T is above 700, free T above 15, and SHBG between 20 and 50. Now for hs-CRP. This one is pretty underrated. High sensitivity CRP measures your body's baseline inflammation. It doesn't tell you where the fire is burning, just that something is burning. Ideal is going to be under 1. Most people are probably between 2 and 4. Not sick, just smoldering. I had a client who was very meticulous, tracked macros, slept 8 hours, meditated. CRP came back at 3.6. Turns out he was overtraining like a maniac and eating foods he was slightly intolerant to. We pulled some volume back, fixed his gut, and CRP dropped to 0.4. Energy, libido, mood, all up. Inflammation is that background noise that ruins every other system. Crushes your testosterone, slows recovery, accelerates aging, and you don't feel inflammation until it's chronic, and then it's too late. Number 5 is vitamin D. Vitamin D isn't just a vitamin, it is a hormone that controls over 1,000 genes. It affects testosterone, immune strength, bone density, and even your cognitive performance. And here's what's wild. I live in Colorado. It is sunny 300 days a year. We're a mile closer to the sun, yet a lot of people that I work with in this state are deficient. Because modern lifestyle is an indoor sport. Optimal range is going to be between 50 and 80. Below 30 and your energy tanks, recovery drags, and your mood follows. The fix is pretty simple and cheap. Supplement with D3 and K2 and get some actual sunlight. But be careful because if you overshoot 100, it's going to start messing with your calcium balance. And as with most things in health, the dose makes the medicine. Number 6 is ALT and AST. Your liver is basically the CEO of metabolism. Handles detox, hormone regulation, nutrient storage, and fat processing. When it's stressed, everything else slows down. ALT and AST are the simplest, cheapest ways to see if that CEO is happy or quitting. I've seen perfect looking guys with ALT of 60. No alcohol, no drugs, just a lot of pre-workout and sleep deprivation, and I'm too busy for vegetables. High ALT and AST are your body's way of saying, hey, maybe don't live like a college student in a 40-year-old's body. Ideal ALT is gonna be under 30, AST under 25. If they're creeping up, reduce your alcohol, that'll often do the trick, clean up supplements, and sleep. And fortunately, your liver doesn't really hold grudges, it actually is pretty quickly forgetting. Number 7, we have creatinine and EGFR. And I'm also gonna throw cystatin C in here if you lift pretty frequently, this is gonna be better than creatinine for you. And usually no one really talks about kidneys until they fail, which is usually pretty late. But they're the ultimate stress mirrors. High protein diets, dehydration, too many stimulants, and your kidneys are all handling it quietly. Creatinine shows how well you're filtering. EGFR estimates efficiency. Under 1.2 creatinine and over 90 EGFR is your sweet spot. One of my endurance athlete clients, extremely fit guy, had creatinine of 1.5. Not because his kidneys are dying, but because he was perpetually over dehydrated and over supplemented. A week of proper hydration and cutting unnecessary powders dropped it back to 1.0. And sometimes the fix isn't medicine. It really is just common sense. So let's put this together. These 7 numbers give you a full snapshot of your metabolic and hormonal health. ApoB tells you about your heart. Glucose and A1C reveal your metabolic rhythm. Testosterone and SHBG show hormonal efficiency. hs-CRP is going to expose inflammation. Vitamin D supports immune and hormonal balance. ALT and AST show how well your liver is managing the chaos, and EGFR tells you how much your kidneys can still tolerate your bad decisions. Together they form what I call the longevity dashboard. Track these consistently and you'll probably catch 90% of problems years before symptoms appear. But here's the part that frustrates a lot of people, is that your doctor will tell you all these labs are normal. Because normal is based on population averages, and that population is overweight, sedentary, inflamed, and medicated. Normal is mediocrity disguised as reassurance. Optimal is different. Optimal is the range that gives you energy, mental clarity, performance, and longevity. One of my favorite comparisons. When you get blood work, the normal range is like grading on a curve in a failing class. You don't want to be at the average, you want to be in the top 10%. I had a 32-year-old executive come to me, successful, lean, looked fine, but he said, man, I feel like I'm aging in dog years. Crashed by 3 p.m., can't recover from workouts, and libido is gone. His labs, ApoB 112, A1C 5.7, free T was 8, hs-CRP 2.8, vitamin D 27, ALT 55. Everything normal, nothing optimal. We dialed in his sleep, reduced caffeine, cleaned up his diet, added a little bit more strength training, and addressed some deficiencies. 3 months later, ApoB was down to 77, CRP 0.6, vitamin D 68, and free T doubled. And that's what precision medicine does. It gives you back capacity. The healthcare system isn't really built for optimization. It's built for survival. Insurance pays when you're sick, not when you're fine-tuning performance. And most guys never really get this data until something breaks. And by then, they're trying to undo a decade of neglect. And the irony is that preventing it is 10 times cheaper and 100 times easier. So when guys say, I'll worry about it later, I tell them, you're not saving time, you're just borrowing it from your future self. So if you've never tested these biomarkers, start small. Get a comprehensive panel through your doctor or order one directly. Don't settle for good enough or within range. Compare your results to optimal values. If something is off, fix it with data, not guesswork. Because health isn't about how you look in the mirror, it's about how efficiently your body runs under pressure. These numbers don't just predict how long you'll live, but they predict how well you'll live. When you know them, you control the game. When you ignore them, you are the game being played. So if you want to know exactly where you stand, not generic, not good enough, but data-driven optimization personalized for your goals, apply for your executive diagnostic below. You'll get comprehensive blood work, full analysis, and a structured plan that bridges lifestyle, nutrition, and performance. No fluff, no random supplements, just clarity, direction, and measurable results. Because if you don't measure, you're guessing, and guessing isn't a strategy, it's surrender.